So, type 1, the holy idea of perfection. This is a holy idea that's not too easy to understand at times, because if we try to understand it from a non-dual perspective, the perspective of personality, it's nothing will get even close to. Holy perfection means understanding that everything that's happening is supposed to happen. It's totally okay and therefore perfect. And there is no such a thing like something being perfect and another thing being imperfect. Imperfection doesn't exist because imperfection is part of perfection. It's part of the perfect plan of creation. So holy perfection is actually the realization that God's plan is perfect. The ray of creation is wise, is perfect. The fact that we are going away from God and experiencing pain and even things like warfare is perfect as a way to get back. It's very hard to say that harsh episodes in humanity are perfect and that even humanity is perfect. However, it's archetypal that we fall down from heaven and have an ego and stay asleep and just eventually wake up and go back home. It's the hero's journey. It's sad that we would not be able to contemplate the treasure for what it is if we couldn't see how it is to live without it, and if we couldn't see it from the outside without being only merged and more than merged, annihilated in it. The idea of perfection contemplates the fact that in creation we need to develop a self, an individual self, apart from the rest. It's perfect like this. Ego structuring is perfect. And then it's also perfect that we go back to essence and realize that actually we are not that we are no one. It's all a perfect move in devolving and evolving, which is actually contemplated in the Enneagram's diagram, which is also perfect. The symbol of all and everything. And if everything is perfect, how can someone be imperfect? That doesn't exist. So who am I to judge? Everybody is doing just what's perfect for the moment. For instance, it's completely perfect that someone in our family is not interested in inner work. And who am I to say that I'm better? Who am I? Now, if everybody is perfect as they are right now, I am also perfect. Who am I also to judge myself? Perfection of the moment. Perfection is a given thing for all beings. It's actually perfection for just being. I love when Almas, on his book, Facets of Unity, and then also Sandra Maitre, talking about the same body of theory, they mention some very funny expressions in English to try to explain that. I believe they are expressions that don't really exist in English language, but explain it better. Like expressions like suchness, or isness, or as it isness. These are some expressions that try to talk a little bit about what holy perfection is. It's everything being perfect just because they exist. It's the perfection of existence itself. And when ones get in touch with holy perfection, they see every molecule as being just inherently right. It's impossible for a being in touch with holy perfection to see anything as being wrong. Everything becomes right. So the true reason why ones in personality start seeing errors, problems, mistakes all around is the loss of that capacity of the higher mind to see how everything is inherently perfect. Now, in the heart level, in the higher emotional center, the spiritual heart, ones get in touch with serenity, which is calmness, and I don't mean any calmness. It's the most amazing calmness of the heart of a being just having no judgment of others and of self. Total acceptance of others and of self. When that happens, serenity arises, because both the virtues and the holy ideas cannot be trained or rehearsed. They can only be received and therefore embodied. They exist in the universe, and if I manage to open up to them after getting rid of trash in the inside, shadows and other kinds of trash, I can just receive them. My heart, my spiritual heart, that one in front of my physical body, that yellow sphere, will receive the virtue and spread it all around. It's like becoming a conduit of that virtue that exists in the universe. So it's not that it's my virtue. It doesn't exist anything like my virtue. My heart starts to reflect that virtue of existence. And then my head does similarly this reflection of those holy ideas. So in serenity, type 1 person becomes calm, non-judging, accepting, and totally relaxed. Now, how is that achievable for someone who lives on earth, connected to matter, and having a body that is almost by definition a container of tensions and contractions, and even more so for a type 1 person? How is that possible? Well, it's very, very simple. And it's something that, unfortunately, modern science doesn't talk much about. But all spiritual traditions have been talking about this for ages. It's this point we have 4 fingers below the navel, the center of gravity of the body that receives names for each tradition. So for some traditions it's called hara, for others it's called dantian, for others it's called kath. and it's in the abdominal cavity, but it's not a physical organ. It belongs to the subtle body, and it's like an antenna of the universe. It sucks in vital energy, cosmic energy, and I can just get energized by that. Like the Chinese talk about the qi, the energy, the vital energy that is available for us always. How can we get in touch with that amazing source of energy that looks endless? Well, we need to get down to our hara, and then get inside it and open it to all there is. Open it to life force. It's an automatic thing that happens for one who's in touch with the hara. Serenity just comes up to the picture. And with all those other things, relaxation, acceptance, non-judgment, which is also, what are we talking about? We are talking about the meditative state, the deepest meditative state, in which the being is totally in peace with itself. So serenity is actually the capacity of breathing totally in and down, especially down. Now, in order to get there, to this point, though, we need to be in peace with ourselves, with God, with nature, with our sexuality, with our self-appreciation. And this is how I can get there. And when they do the work, they are the ones that get there the easiest. Of course, in personality, it's the opposite. So here's the deal. When ones get to that point, they become serene because they are not fighting against their impulses. And they are not fighting against the impulses for pleasure. They just allow those to happen because they realize they are just human and there's nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, there may be situations that we want to put limits and have boundaries and so on. This is healthy. But I don't need to fight against the impulse for pleasure every time. I need to allow myself to have fun, to just relax, or to just sometimes go a little bit for leisure before duty, you know? And that's what it takes at times to be able to go down there to the hara point. And if you're not yet experiencing full relaxation, I mean, undivisible relaxation, and also total self-acceptance and acceptance of others, and a totally relaxed smile, like the Buddha's smile. If you're not yet experiencing that, it's because in your meditation practice or whatever you do, you are not yet reaching that point. You might be close to it, but not yet inside it. So a key thing to understand what serenity is from the inside is to know about the hara. So anger is the contraction against being in the hara. All of us get angry, irritated, tense, if we are not in touch with that point of And anger is the passion for type 1, because it's like I start to believe that there is one right way, and that way is probably my way if I'm a sexual dominant, if I'm a social dominant, and it's not actually my way if I'm a self-pressed dominant one. So it changes a little bit, but B has talked about that on her books, and you can read that. The thing is, I get full of anger when I'm not accepting of reality, both my own and other people's, and just reality. And when I'm trying to correct stuff, and also the fixation here is resentment, meaning that if someone else is doing anything that I don't allow myself to do, or that I believe is not part of the rules, I'll feel resentful. Now, one useful thing for ones to know is that whenever they feel resentful, it's because they wish they were doing that. And there is an invisible part of them who secretly wishes to do the same. And ones perhaps should allow themselves to do the same. Because on the Enneagram, the formula out of ego for ones is becoming a little crazier. And I remember David Daniels saying that the formula for ones was decadence, being less correct.
That's good.
So I can't help think that although ones seem to suffer a bit more than average in ego, whenever they come to do Enneagram work, they are the luckiest. Because they are the, for some types we say stuff like, you need to be more self-contained, or you need to be more in touch with your pain, or whatever. And for ones we say, go just have fun and get laid, And so, it's not too bad. So that's the deal, though, for ones, and it's not too easy for a character structure that tries to go against having fun and just relaxing, right? So it's not actually that easy, but it's doable. So all we can hope for a one is to smile much more, to have fun, to have lightness, and to just allow herself to go with the flow in a relaxed way without needing to feel prepared to do the next step in life. And above all, if the one is social, allowing oneself really not to be perfect.